Hello YouTubers, this is Dub in the Dam. I'm doing a little video blog here on tobacco as I promised. Last night I did a blog on buying a pipe, and I gave you a rough introduction about pipes, filters, varnishes and non-varnished, and price ranges, etc. So now I'm going to give you a brief introduction to tobaccos. There aren't that many categories of tobaccos. The types of tobacco there are Latakia, Virginian, Perique, Burley and Oriental. So that's it. So I think Burley is often Kentucky as well. Maybe you could call that another one, but there actually is a limited amount of leaves. Now there are different tobaccos that come from different areas. So some people say the Virginias from Africa are good, Virginias from America are the best, you get Virginias from India. So you obviously got tobaccos grown around the world, and it's a bit like wine. The kind of soil it's grown in and the way it's grown gives it a slightly different flavour. So apart from the types of leaves of tobacco and types of plants, the family of plants, there are other categories, and they are quite simple. The main categories are aromatics, which have flavourings, quite strong aromas and flavourings added. Those are aromatics. There are Latakias, and often called Englishes, or English tobaccos, and they are Latakias and Orientals, and they tend to have a smokiness or a spiciness to them, and this is done by drying the tobaccos over smoky fires. And it really does, Latakias and Orientals tend to have this peaty, it really smells and to a certain extent tastes like a peaty fire, an old turf peat fire, very Irish. And it does actually go very well with whiskey. So there you go. If you like your whiskey, you'll like your Latakias. The other thing you tend to get is just more natural tobacco, and they can often be referred to as English, and they would be predominantly Virginias, also with Burley added, sometimes with some Latakia added, but not very often. So their naturals really have a very figgy, raisiny, plum-like taste, dates, figs, fruity kind of taste, and that's the natural fermented taste of tobacco when it's kind of got nothing added. Now most tobaccos have some sort of flavouring added. People will talk about it being heavily cased, and that means it's quite a sweet, heavily cased aromatic. And they will say it's a natural tobacco with a very light casing, meaning there's something else added to it that gives it a slight aroma or taste that you can't quite put your finger on. Okay, and that's really it. And then within that you get different kinds of cuts. Okay, you've got your aromatic, you've got your Latakia Orientals, and you've got your more natural, earthy, sort of non-cased and non-Latakia tobaccos. And then you've got different cuts. So there's ribbon cut, and there's cube cut, and there's shag cut, and there's flakes, and there's discs, and there's plugs, and there's ropes, which are literally a plug of tobacco that you have to cut yourself, and a rope, likewise, you have to cut yourself. So there are different cuts of tobacco. Most people who start smoking a pipe are advised to start with an aromatic, because that's what they envisage a pipe is. That's often why they come to pipe smoking, because they have this memory of this very sweet smell. And a typical, very famous aromatic actually is this one, and this is vanilla cream. Okay, that's vanilla. There you go. That's vanilla. Loose cut by McBaron's. And you smell that, and it tastes like vanilla. It's like sugary, sweet vanilla, and it's very nice. This is actually often recommended because it's a heavily cased aromatic, but it still has a taste of natural tobacco behind it. So you still have an earthy, nicotine-ish, tobacco-y, cigar-y taste there a little bit too. So it's not sickly sweet. I shall show you a Latakia. This is a very famous one. This is Penzance by Esoteric. It comes from Britain, I believe, and it is stunning. Again, this kind of peaty smell from it, a little bit like Catholic Mass incense, a little bit like burnt rubber, believe it or not. It sounds worse than it is, but it smells absolutely fantastic, and it's quite dark. You can actually see little bits of mouldy bits there, and it's actually quite dark. That kind of shows it best. It's quite dark. This is a crumble cake, so it's quite dry as a flake, and you just break little chunks off and throw it into your pipe like that. Penzance, excellent Latakia. Some other famous Latakias are Dunhill Nightcap, very famous. Dunhill early morning pipe, very famous Latakia. Nightcap is strong. Show you an aromatic there. It's typical. It's kind of a new aromatic that's Stanwell by Keir and Apple, it says, which means cherry and apple, and it literally cherry and apple. Now aromatics actually can have a slightly soapy smell and a slightly soapy taste, literally soap. Okay, and that's why people often don't like aromatics. Aromatics also have the flavouring added with sugar, so it tends to bite the tongue a bit more. They tend to get wetter as well when you smoke them. So, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I'm going to show you very natural tobaccos, and this is what I like. This is a flake. As I said, you have different cuts, and this is Solani Virginia flake. So it's got really nothing much added to it, and that's a Virginia flake.